In the Second World War, sugar didn't just run low, it disappeared. Milk, well, it evaporated from shelves. Flour became, contraband. Entire cities lived on ration books that promised calories but delivered, honestly, just emptiness. And yet people still crave comfort, not luxury. Comfort. Something familiar enough to remind them, yeah, they were still human. In bombed-out kitchens and frozen apartments, families didn't bake cakes. They rebuilt the idea of treats from roots, peels, bark and scraps that had no business becoming food. Turnips were boiled into candy. Carrots hardened into brittle sweets. Acorns lost their bitterness through fire and patience. These weren't indulgences. They were morale weapons. Something small to keep children quiet during air raids, something warm to hold during blackouts. Junk food wasn't a brand. It was memory forced back into existence by desperation. These are 9 junk foods World War II families invented without sugar, milk or flour. None were sweet in the modern sense. Some were bitter. Some were burned. Every one of them mattered. Carrot candy became the sugarless sweet of the war. When sugar vanished, families didn't stop craving sweetness. They redefined it. Carrots, naturally sweet and widely grown, became the base for improvised candy. Grated carrots were boiled down into dense pastes. Sometimes mixed with a spoon of honey or syrup when available, sometimes with nothing at all. The mixture was pressed into tins or rolled into balls and dried near stoves. It wasn't dessert, it was psychological relief, a sweet shape without sweet ingredients. Carrots delivered vitamin A and enough natural sugar to trick the tongue, especially for children who remembered candy before the war. Potato peel crisps turned waste into crunch. Nothing was thrown away. Potato skins, scrubbed clean, were saved and dried. Once enough accumulated, they were brushed lightly with fat, if any existed, salted and baked on hot metal or near open flames. They came out tough and earthy, but crunchy. In a world of boiled mush, crunch mattered. The skins carried fibre and minerals, helping stretch meals when the flesh itself was needed elsewhere. Improper cleaning could make them dangerous, but when done right, they kept people fed. Carrot marmalade replaced fruit that no longer existed. Jam didn't vanish. Fruit did. Carrot marmalade filled the gap. Boiled carrots were mashed, mixed with small rationed amounts of sugar or vinegar, sometimes citrus peel when available, and cooked into a spreadable preserve. Stored in reused jars, it bulked bread and porridge, and provided colour in grey kitchens. It spoiled easily if mishandled, but when sealed properly, it lasted months and prevented vitamin deficiency. Oat pancakes survived without eggs or milk. Oats, water, salt and heat. That was it. Soaked oats were mashed into paste, flattened by hand and cooked on metal sheets, stones or scorched lids. No rise, no softness, just calories. Some added mashed potatoes or carrot pulp to stretch the batter. These pancakes cooked fast, travelled well and didn't spoil. They weren't meals, they were survival units. Barley coffee, sort of replaced the old ritual when caffeine just vanished. Coffee disappeared pretty early on. But barley remained. Whole barley grains were roasted until they were dark, then crushed by hand and boiled up into a bitter drink. There was no caffeine in it, but it kept the routine alive. Folks drank it hot, together, morning and night. In war, ritual mattered just as much as nutrition. Barley coffee, it steadied the spirit when all the stimulants were gone. Salt-dried apple rings, they managed to preserve a bit of sweetness even when there was no sugar to be found. Apples were sliced thin, lightly salted, and dried out on cloth or wire near windows and stoves. The salt would draw out the moisture and keep mould at bay. These rings, they'd last for months, travelled easily, and honestly turned bland porridge into something at least a bit more tolerable. Kids carried them in their pockets. Families would trade them for whatever necessities they needed. This wasn't dessert, not really. It was preserved morale. Potato peel pancakes kept families alive when nothing else remained. When even whole potatoes were too valuable, peels were boiled, mashed, bound with crumbs or oats, and fried thin. Eggs, if available, were split across batches. These cakes hardened quickly, but stored well. They weren't eaten for pleasure. They were eaten to survive one more night. Burnt bread crust coffee recreated memory, not flavour. Bread crusts were dried, scorched again, ground, and steeped into a black liquid. Bitter, smoky, and familiar enough to feel like coffee. It offered no energy, but it preserved routine. Sometimes barley or acorns were added. The point wasn't taste. It was continuity. Vinegar taffy gave children something to hold. With sugar gone, vinegar became the base of imitation candy. Boiled with beet syrup, mashed carrots, or fermented fruit scraps, it thickened into sour slabs that could be stretched into strands. It wasn't sweet. It was distracting. Children sucked on it during air raids. Mothers made it to buy silence, if only for minutes. They didn't call this junk food, they called it survival. When sugar vanished, milk curdled into memory, and flour became forbidden, families didn't wait to be saved. They invented. They stretched scraps into sustenance and morale into discipline. If preserving forgotten survival knowledge matters to you, subscribe and share. Because when systems fail again, it won't be innovation that saves us. It will be memory.